incident. That officer is believed to be in grave condition. The New York Mayor, Eric Adams, in his update tonight saying that multiple people had been shot, which would leave the possibility that more than two had been shot. But again, we're waiting for final confirmation from authorities on those details, Scotty.
And I mean, there is so much commotion that's happening. They are the streets of New York, but what is going on? People can hear, all the honking and it sounds like yelling. Is that related to the scene, or is that just normal New York?
People have come out here to this area, to see this area that's been cordoned off. They want to know what's going on. It is a point now of curiosity. Now that the situation has calmed somewhat, there are also some protesters who've gathered as well. They're protesting something completely different than what unfolded here in the early hours of this evening. But I would say it's still a very tense situation here in Midtown Manhattan. You can see just over this way the people that have gathered to see what's going on, and is again, Gotti, it's a pretty tense situation. But at the moment, authorities are not letting anyone anywhere near that area over there, which is 345 Park Avenue.
It looks like people are coming out of that scene. I mean, that is some very good news. Unfortunately, we have some bad news. I believe we just got confirmation that there are 5 victims, 5 dead, including the shooter, though. So again, we're awaiting word from some possible press conference from NYPD, but at this point, all we know is 5 dead. That shooter has died from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. We're going to continue to monitor all of this. You can find the latest on NBCNews.com.
Deadly shooting in Midtown Manhattan. Want to get right on over to Jonathan Deans, our chief investigative reporter. John.
Hi, Natalie. The suspect, we are told from multiple law enforcement sources, has now been identified. He's the suspect that we've shown you walking into the building carrying that assault rifle. We're told he's identified as Shane Devon Tamura. He was born in 1998. We're told he's a former football player. And investigators are looking into whether he intended to target the NFL offices and that are located inside that building. The investigation is still early on. And again, he apparently played high school football and some other sports. But this one-time football player apparently from Las Vegas, Nevada area, is identified by multiple law enforcement sources as Shane Devon Tamura, going into the building, opening fire, and later killing himself on the 33rd floor of that building along Park Avenue. We have an update on the casualty count, but again, we're going to be very cautious with these numbers since they've been changing moment by moment. And what we have is that from multiple law enforcement officials, the police officer who's working in that lobby, he is now shot and killed and pronounced dead at an area hospital. We are told there are at least 4 others who were hit by gunfire, and several are in critical condition. We are awaiting official word from the mayor and the city police, as well as the FBI, on additional conditions, but there's been differing accounts as to their conditions. So we're going to stick with 1 police officer dead and several others wounded in this shooting along Park Avenue. And again, the suspect, apparently Shane Devon Tamora, that according to multiple law enforcement sources, seen carrying an assault rifle, walking into the building, opening fire in the lobby, making his way to the 33rd floor, and then apparently taking his own life on the 33rd floor. Again, question as to whether they are looking into whether he was targeting the NFL offices located in that building. That is the very latest that we have at this hour, and we will continue to update as more comes in.
Jonathan, we know you are continuing to work your sources. We appreciate the up-to-the-minute details. We're going to have you covered here on air on NBC4 New York and online at NBCNewYork.com for any new updates. Make sure you have our app. Thank you so much for joining us. American Ninja Warrior continues right now.
Good evening. We are starting with breaking news and live pictures out of New York City. This is a massive police response to a shooting in the heart of Midtown Manhattan. Sources telling us a gunman with some sort of long rifle or assault rifle opened fire at a skyscraper along Park Avenue, and at least 1 police officer and a civilian have been shot. We are also hearing the gunman may have also been shot, possibly from a self-inflicted gunshot wound after making it all the way to the 32nd or 33rd floor of that skyscraper. Again, an overwhelming police presence in the area that has now been locked down for several blocks. People being told to shelter in place. And we are also getting our first look at the shooter from surveillance video nearby. There it is right there. A man you see walking with sunglasses, carrying what looks like that assault rifle with a pretty long magazine there and some sort of possibly tactical strap, walking towards the building. Former FBI Supervisor Rob D'Amico is with us right now. Rob, you've been watching the coverage for the last hour or so. It does look like the tension has subsided a little bit as we are now hearing from NYPD that the suspect has been neutralized. But what are you seeing here?
Yeah, that's what I'm starting to hear myself, and that it was 1 shooter and not multiple shooters. Again, when social media first started pushing this out, there was rumors of possible multiple shooters. That happens a lot on these because, again, the sound of gunfire ricocheting off things and witnesses running, not seeing everything. So they really had to determine, in fact, if it was 1 shooter, and then again, that they neutralized him with a self-inflicted gunshot wound. I'm hearing on the 33rd floor, and now you're starting to see a very slow, organized, I think, de-escalation where they're starting to bring people out that were locked down, but they have to do it very orderly, probably floor by floor. Each floor has a different plan if they're going to use an elevator, if they're going to use a stairwell, depending on what floor. They don't want to disturb crime scenes, so if the shooter did anything on any other floor besides the 33rd, if in fact that's where he did the self-inflicted gunshot wound, if he did anything else, they're going to have to lock that down as a crime scene. So again, now they can take their time though. They're confident that the sole shooter is down and neutralized, and now to start bringing people out. Communication is a big part. These people are very panicked. Some people aren't thinking clearly. They need to have someone in the hallways, down the hall, what elevator to go on. So every time that someone has to make a decision, someone's there to reinforce. Go down to the next hallway, make a right, you'll see someone there and they'll tell you. So, and they're probably going to be coming out single file. Again, that's everyone. Every time you do this, you don't want to see like people running out and panic So you tell them just walk calm, walk in single file, and it produces calm across the board.
And Rob, right now that we know that the threat has been neutralized, the big question, especially for people that are watching that have loved ones in that area or possibly in that building, is how many people may have been victims here, right? We understand that one officer, possibly an NYPD officer who was working a detail at the time, was hurt, and then also a civilian outside. But those were the initial reports. When you see he's made it to the 32nd, 33rd floor, how long is it going to be before we have an update on potential victims here?
I think shortly. NYPD is very good at taking situations like this, and they know one of the big ones is to get initial communications out. In fact, what they had, what's going on, because they don't want rumors to fly. They really want to end that social media, fire of multiple shooters and how many people were injured. They want to come out. They may not be able to give specifics. They're not going to give anything besides we have 2 casualties, including 1 police officer, something along those lines. And maybe, somewhat critical condition or sent to the hospital. But they do really want to calm that down to a point, get that word out. So I think it's going to be fairly soon when you start to hear about this. And then again, if you're on the ground, seeing where the teams are going, always kind of can lend something. If you see an AMTs are going into the building with stretchers and with emergency medical kits, then there may be something more inside the building besides the ones just outside.
And I mean, hearing that he made it as high as the 33rd floor, or 32nd floor, like, what does that tell you about what happened in those final moments? Rob, do we still have you? Hey, Rob, I'm not sure if you lost us there.
Do you have me?
Rob, I'm not sure if you can hear us. It looks like we might be having some technical difficulties, but if you can hear me, the fact that he made it so high up that skyscraper, what does that tell you?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, yeah. Can you hear me okay? Rob, do you hear me? It looks like we have lost Rob D'Amico momentarily. We're going to try to get him back on the phone here as we watch the developments on your screen. We know at least 1 officer, 1 civilian have been shot on the streets of New York. This is happening in Midtown Manhattan. We understand this building, the building where an active shooter went inside and possibly made it as high as the 32nd or 33rd floor, was a building that housed the NFL, KPMG, Blackstone, Deutsche Bank was also a tenant of that building. At this point, we still don't know exactly what that active shooter was doing in that building, if they were targeting any of those businesses, or possibly this is an incident of workplace violence. All we know is that picture down there shows a man in sunglasses carrying an assault rifle, what looks like a pretty long magazine, maybe a 30-round magazine, and possibly something on the end of that assault rifle on a tactical a strap. He's making his way towards that building. We understand it's 345 Park Avenue. This is in between 52nd, 51st Street. We're also being told that active shooter may have possibly ended his life on the 32nd or 33rd floor. It's unclear if there was a barricade situation, but that's what we're hearing from NYPD and sources right now. We're also monitoring the latest from our affiliate, NBC in New York. They've got a live reporter right now on the perimeter. I'm not sure if we have them, if we can pop them up right now. Yeah, it looks like we don't have that source coming in just now. So again, if you are tuning in, we are following this breaking news out of Midtown Manhattan. At least 2 people have been shot. We are awaiting any sort of update from NYPD. in terms of how many other people may have been shot. Those were the initial reports that came in. We also understand that the shooter has been neutralized, as NYPD is put it. We understand that it might have been a self-inflicted gunshot wound in the higher floors of that building. Again, this is happening on Park Avenue, 345 Park Avenue. The Attorney General, Pam Bondi, right now posting on X, our U.S. Attorney in New York has set up a command post to assist with the shooting in New York. Local FBI agents on the scene. When it comes to the victims, we understand that one of them was a NYPD officer. The condition at this point is unknown, but we understand they were working a paid detail, so it's not clear exactly what that paid detail entailed. But we also hearing that there was another victim that was hit in this as well. And at this point, we are in a holding pattern, waiting to hear if there are any updates on the victims, the condition of those two victims. I believe we have reestablished a connection with Rob D'Amico here. Rob, I was asking you before we got cut off there. I mean, the fact that the shooter, you know, if you've been to buildings in any part of Manhattan, security is very tight. So the fact that he was able to make it to one of these higher floors, what does that tell you?
Well, security is in the fact electronics. So you normally take a badge to get on the elevator to go to certain floors. Though I don't think the security in the lobby is going to stop someone with an AR-15 with a vest on. I heard he had a vest on. So he comes in with an AR-15. Unless you're an armed police officer, because there really aren't a lot of armed security guards in New York. Most of them are off-duty police officers. We heard that one was working a detail. But if he comes in with an AR-15, he can get past them. But normally, again, the elevator banks take a certain badge to get on a floor. That may be indicative that he had a badge to get him to a certain floor. That's my first thought on that, because I was just actually up in New York at 30 Rock visiting NBC and MSNBC, and I had to get a badge to go everywhere and be escorted. And buildings like this, NFL's in there, Blackstone's in there. Those are top companies that have security, and you can't get to the floors without having the correct badge. So I think that may lend itself to he may have worked there or somehow had a badge in order to get on an elevator to get to the 33rd floor, because I don't think he ran up the stairs.
And Rob, if we could pull up that picture of the suspect walking in right now from that surveillance video. I mean, to your trained eye, it does, I mean, assault rifle, long magazine, 30 rounds. What do you see here?
Yeah, I first looked at it and it looks like an AR type semi-automatic. It has a standard 30-round magazine. It actually looked like it may have had a suppressor. I can't really tell. It's a little blurry, but it looks a little fatter on the end of the muzzle, which may be a suppressor or some type of what we call can that can reduce the noise. And it looks like a strap. So again, he's kind of in the suit, and then he's got this assault rifle. And how does he walk through the streets without people noticing? But it's New York. People just walk. People may have blown it off. He may have been so cavalier about it. He may have just got out of an Uber where he had it in a bag and jumped out and started walking, and they took this picture. People may have been clearing when they saw him. Again, that one still photo just shows he is going in with some purpose, and he wasn't afraid for anyone to see that he had an assault rifle.
And how soon is it going to be after this? Because it does look, eerily casual that he's walking up to that building. We don't know if there was a shooting that happened in front of the building and then he went inside, or there were shootings inside of the building. But how fast is the response time in Midtown Manhattan for some sort of active shooting like this?
I think it's pretty quick. Again, I was just up there and I was amazed by how many police officers I saw on every block. They're regular patrol officers. The one thing, he has an assault rifle. Most police vests, that rifle, that round goes right through them. They're not made to stop assault rifles. They're made to stop pistol rounds. You have to have like something on the ESU or a SWAT team that has metal plates or ceramic plates that's a level 4 that can stop an assault round. And that's usually only a small area, like right in the center of your chest, so you protect your vitals. If he had a vest on, which I'd heard in the beginning. Again, that's social media. That's initially what came out. If he had a vest on, that could stop a patrolman's round, the 9mm round that most of those police officers carry. That can stop it in the vital area. So he has protection on, and the weapon he has will go right through a patrolman's vest. So until ESU gets there, that has bullet plates in it, that weapon can go right through a police officer's body armor.
Rob D'Amico, we really appreciate your insight into all of this. Hope you stand by for us. We've also got Tom Winter, NBC's Tom Winter, who has been working the phones, talking to sources about what we're seeing happen just down the street from 30 Rock. Tom, what's the latest on the investigation here?
Yeah, so Gotti, this incident happens at approximately 6:30 p.m. Tonight. A NYPD officer working a what's called a detail, meaning that they were assigned to a specific location, being paid not on their normal patrol shift, but detailed to a specific spot. Apparently, was shot in the course of this incident. There's been at least one other individual that's been shot. It has been a difficult night for all of those involved. We do not yet have conditions on the parties that have been shot. We know that there's at least one other civilian that's been injured. We are now unfortunately hearing, Gotti, that those numbers are expected to climb as far as those that have been injured at a minimum as a result of this shooting incident. The person that the NYPD had been looking for in connection with this, they believe is dead as a result of a self-inflicted gunshot wound. They're in the process of conducting this investigation. We do not have a name on or off the record of the individual that they believe is responsible for this. The person they've been looking for is that image that's located directly below me, right down here, and that's the person that was captured on surveillance video entering the building. You're looking at the kind of the wider surveillance video, and then because of the technology of these cameras these days, they're able to put that person in kind of a zoom box and give us a more detailed photograph of this person. So that's the information that we've received at this hour. It is a rapidly developing situation. The information I'm sharing with you is preliminary and subject to change, but obviously something that's got law enforcement here in New York City very concerned about this. So the police commissioner saying that that individual's been neutralized, her words, and that the FBI is also prepared and has actually responded to the scene, prepared to help if need be. And so everybody at the NYPD, from their intelligence bureau to the patrol officers that are there on the scene, is acutely aware of this. They are still in the course of evacuating the building. They're taking that floor by floor, office by office. They've been removing people through elevators, through the stairwells, and they've been able to evacuate them out one side of the building. Understandably, I think, Gotti, I'm not going to share a lot of details about that process, just to out of an abundance of caution. One, to make sure nobody else is injured tonight, and to let those folks get out of that building safely. There's a number of blocks that are frozen pretty much just east of the building. I know you're familiar with the area, but if I was to walk out of the room that I'm in, broadcasting to you from, go out our office doors here and head east, we'd run into St. Patrick's Cathedral. It's just beyond that and a little further north. It's completely cordoned off. So this is a very busy commercial district. This is the heart of New York City, frankly, and there's been an active shooter tonight. That's something that the NYPD is trained for. That's why you saw those officers running in. You're looking at the video right now. They are trained. I've been on the NYPD active shooting training exercises. They're told to just not wait, to rush towards the gunfire and go. The incident, according to some of the preliminary information that I've received, basically once the shooting happened, they started calling all of the SRG units, the Strategic Response Group. This was put into play after some of the terrorism incidents in Europe. The NYPD Commissioner Bratton at the time, others, realizing that kind of the next threat may not be those large-scale terror attacks we saw in 9/11, but an active shooter. So that's who responded to this. It will continue to get you the details, Gotti, as they come in.
I appreciate that. And it seems like our colleague Jonathan Dienst over at WNBC, he's got some new reporting that the civilian shot may have been working as an accountant, possibly in the building. Their condition is unknown. Again, these are all details that are still coming in. It's very, very preliminary. But do you know more about the officer that was shot here?
We don't have, Tom. The reason why we're not saying any additional information about the officer, that officer, like the individual who was shot here, they have families, and I think out of respect to them and the ability for the NYPD to directly communicate with them is paramount. So we'll just leave it at the details that I shared with you. A detail officer working in this particular area that was shot as a result.
Got it. Tom, we're going to be checking back with you in just a bit. We understand Steve Romo, you just saw a shot of Stephen Romo. He is now at the scene. Steve, can you tell us what's it looking like from your vantage point?
Yeah, Gotti, as you can imagine, a chaotic situation. Some relief in the crowd getting that news that this suspected the shooter has been neutralized. You can see that the traffic, though, is still closed on this block. We actually just saw some office workers who have been released from their building, many of them being told to shelter in place, now able to finally walk out, clearly in relief that they were able to leave their office building right now. So you mentioned just where this building is, you and Tom Winter. This is a massive building. It takes up this entire city block. The NFL and other major corporations that are working there. There's also a bank branch, just normal everyday people living their lives, and then all of a sudden they get the breaking news about this happening. So as you can see, we keep moving. So police officers, there are still more vehicles coming in and out from this investigation. We know the FBI, Pam Bondi just mentioning, more federal officials are located there as well, involved in this investigation to try to get this latest information. The crowds, though, there have been just talking to people, trying to make my way over here, hearing that there was a shooter on the loose in Midtown Manhattan at this rush hour. You can imagine the type of panic that caused. Many people are scared, trying to avoid the area. Others were trying to make their way over either because they know someone who works there or they're just curious to know what exactly is going on. Again, there is a bit of relief knowing that the suspect has been neutralized, but still, people, of course, want answers as to why this happened, to know if this person was working alone, and a lot of those questions are the ones we're waiting for as well, guys.
And Stephen, as we're looking at that image of the shooter on his way into the building, do we have any word on whether there was a shooting on the street and then he made his way inside, or did all of the shooting happen inside of what we believe to be 345 Park Avenue?
Right, 345 Park Avenue, quite a ways down. They have us blocked off pretty far, Gotti. No information that we've been able to gather on the scene about a shooting on the street. We have heard that as well. Just talking to people briefly here, no one that I've been able to talk to was actually at that location at the time, and they couldn't speak to it. But it's another one of the many questions that people have.
And in terms of the people that you've been talking to, we've already seen on social media all kinds of confusion, a lot of, false information about other arrests that may have been made on the streets that were unrelated to what we're seeing at that building. But is there a lot of confusion among the people that you've been speaking with?
Yeah, absolutely. I was talking to a woman as I was crossing the street here. She was telling me that she was asking me what was going on if I knew, and saying that Twitter is a great, X is a great use of information, getting information out. But she saw some information that she found out.